Hey, Sox fans, welcome to Good Guys Talk Back, episode 214. I am Nick Murawski, and this is a fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast. You can find us absolutely everywhere, and thank you so much for jumping in on our YouTube channel, doing this on Sunday nights if we can. But you obviously can find the audio absolutely everywhere. Wow, we got a huge opening weekend series to break down. We got the home opener coming up. White Sox baseball is back. Let me bring in my co-host, lifelong friend, diehard White Sox fan, Pat Hester. Hello, sir.
Buddy, it's been a long winter of breaking it down. A lot of cold nights, you and I talking about what could be. And here we are. The season is here and we're at 500. So that seems to be about where we left it. But the feeling is different from the last pitch of last year to the way this season started. I'm excited to really start breaking it down with you, brother.
Yeah, what an opening day, actually opening night with the Sox on ESPN on Thursday. A bit of a heartbreaker on Friday, and Sox got kind of nickeled and dimed on Saturday with Giolito on the hill, and pretty exciting Sunday. They really could have, put the foot on the throat of the Astros, and it could have gone a different way. But the Sox kept grinding. We're going to chop it all up. You mentioned it feels a little different, and they split, and but look, you're going against the defending champs, and they're without Altuve, without Brantley, but that's a tough team. They've got some tough pitching, one of the best bullpens in all of baseball. A lot of folks expecting them to get right back at the series, and probably win. A lot of folks taking the Astros to go back to back. Now, sometimes you can split a series and you could feel like, well, we kind of lost it. We lost the series. And sometimes you split and you feel like, well, we kind of won. I feel like we won that series. I got a feeling that the Astros are going to walk away really disappointed, where the Sox are coming home like, you know what? That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, not a bad first test. It's a great early measuring stick. And you had mentioned the guys were out of their lineup, but listen, that's still a hell of a ball club. And you're not winning World Series and going to the playoffs year after year with just a lineup, right? They have a pretty damn good starting staff and a really good bullpen. And, for a lot of the, let's say crap that Dusty Baker has gotten over his career, a Hall of Fame manager that still has his A game, in my opinion. And so they're a really well put together organization, and they're coming off of, and maybe they have a little hangover, who knows, from last year, and a lot of celebration, a lot of pomp and circumstance over day one and day two with the banner and then the rings on Friday. Maybe that was a lot for them, and maybe the Astros weren't as focused as they were. But regardless of the fact that I felt like this team, outside of a couple areas, which we'll break down and discuss, really played some good, exciting baseball, and the energy and the vibe already feels different. Is it too early to say?
I don't think it's too early to say because of where they started off the season. They're starting in Houston against the defending champs. And, we had to sit there and see the banner and the rings, and Jose Abreu's over there, which is so bizarre. Griffol's, first run at what's going on here. Hey, I had a pretty good, spring training, but this is a brand new ball game for me. I've never done this in the big leagues before. Heck of a resume, but this is my first time as a big league manager. A lot of expectations on this team, I think, in terms of in the organization, nationally and even somewhat locally. There's a lot of folks that are like, yeah, it's the same old Sox. They didn't do enough in the off season. What? I'll start paying attention maybe in July if they're hanging around. But everything that you and I have read, and some of the things that you see, it's just a little different. It feels different with Griffol in charge and this coaching staff. So if you want to give me some good, if we break down good, great, bad, ugly, some of the good that you saw from this series.
I'll go. I'm trying to, as I was putting this together, because you had sent me a text earlier and said, think of your good, great, bad, and ugly. I'm trying to maybe go ways that you won't go, but I'm sure we're going to kind of cross-pollinate here. But I'll say my good is Pedro's first career managerial win. And not only that, but the way the team reacted to it. You know, you heard the story of them pushing him down in the laundry basket or whatever, shaving cream and water, you know, celebrating his first win. I just felt like the team really cared about him and cared about this guy's been a lifer in this game, and the way the path he took to get here is not the path most managers take these days. There's a lot of managers in baseball that, you know, go from the broadcast booth to managing a team or different ways, or go right from playing to a manager. He's done it the way where you pay your dues. And I think the team appreciates him enough to celebrate him. So I'll take that as my good. That was what made me feel good, because again, it tells me that culture is a real thing happening in that clubhouse.
Yeah, I like it. I'll kind of stick with a Pedro Grifol theme, and it's something we were talking before we started recording. No Sunday lineup. I like the consistent lineups. Okay, if you're a fan of consistent lineups, you love this series. And no Sunday lineups. We didn't see Hanser Alberto, Gavin Sheets, Romy Gonzalez. You know, you had your starters out there looking to at least split, you know, and come home on a high note. So that was something that I thought, hey, you know, this is different. This feels a little different, right?
Yeah, it did. And I love that, where it's like, and we were talking about it before we started recording, would it have been different had they won 2 out of the first 3 games? Would you have seen a Sunday lineup today? And I like the fact, regardless, that there was a sense of urgency that this game was still important. And we didn't want to come home and have our home opener and be a 1-3 team after, you know, a lot has been said about how we're going to be different. We're going to play the game different. We're going to approach it different. Could have been a really sour way to come home, especially winning today, coming home on a high note. That's fantastic. Really, again, feels a lot different than what we have been, exposed to over the past year and a half.
Another good I had was starting pitching. I mean, you could put Dylan Cease in the great column here if you really want to split hairs. I mean, that was a masterpiece on opening night. Hey, Lance Lynn, not a bad outing at all. I know he wasn't happy because he left the bullpen with their hands full and they did not deliver. Lucas Giolito, he wanted to get through 6. He feels like that's the job of the starters. And boy, after watching this bullpen this past weekend, yeah, we need starters going like 7 or 8. But I didn't mind Lucas Giolito's start. I mean, it was kind of paper cuts to death. You know, Astros had maybe 11 hits in the game, but 1 extra base hit. He gave up some runs early, but it wasn't that big home run. And Mike Clevenger, solid 5 innings. The slider was working 95, 96 miles per hour. Would have loved him to get through 6, but he went through 5, and he looked pretty in control, I would say, despite hitting a couple guys. So I would put starting pitching in that good column.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Nick. And especially to me, it's the how long guys were able to go. They didn't look fatigued, and it didn't look like you had to really ease them into the season. They looked prepared. Now, Lance Lynn, I get, right? Coming off the World Baseball Classic, he's had some stressful innings on that arm already, probably more ready to go than everybody else is. But I just felt like everybody was in control. Whatever they did in the offseason looked like it had worked to perfection to get them built up to this point where they're ready to start the season. And it wasn't like you're looking over your shoulder in the 4th inning like, okay, this guy's probably had enough and we got to get that bullpen up, because as you mentioned, the bullpen not so good so far, in my opinion. So, but again, a lot of good to take from it. But I'm going to transition us into the great. I have a tie. Is that allowed? Can I have a tie for great?
Oh, you can.
The low hanging fruit obviously is Yoan Moncada. I mentioned it when we were on with Joey in the what podcast were we on just recently? The Bet Chicago,
Bet Chicago,
the Bet Chicago podcast with Joey Chrysopoulos, and I had mentioned that I've always picked Yoan Moncada to be, the last 2 years, not always, but the last 2 years, him to be the MVP of this team, and I'm just predicting that he's going to have, at least at minimum, I don't think he's going to be the MVP of the team, but I think he'll lead the team from the left-handed side of the plate with home runs this season. I just think that he's got that extra gear in him, and what he did in the World Baseball Classic, he had some, a fantastic World Baseball Classic, and I was hoping that he would carry that through, and he did with a fantastic series. Dusty Baker saying we just couldn't get the guy out this week, and I think he's a benefit of the shift being illegal now, because there were some balls hit to the right side that maybe with the shift there that they don't get through, and he's thrown out at first, but it's going to benefit him this year. So I'm happy about that. And the tie, the other piece of the tie is Luis Robert, is his defense is just. And he followed up with some, obviously hit some hitting too, but my goodness gracious, the couple plays he made this weekend is just like, okay, you feel a lot better now about where he might be physically again. Let's just hope that he's not going to be having to crash and slide all over the place every game. But man, the catch today was just on Sunday, for those listening later on, was just magnificent and almost unbelievable. I couldn't believe that he got there, number one, and two, the control he had to slide and catch a ball sliding into, not into the wall, but towards the wall, into on the warning. I mean, just amazing. So those are my two greats from this weekend.
You and I really, we should continue doing a podcast together, because on my great list, I had Moncada and Robert's defense. I kid you not. And not only the catch on Sunday, which was, and how about Benintendi jumping over him? I thought that was that was a great look. Awareness by him.
What would have Aloy done? Let's think about what catastrophe would have happened.
It absolutely exploded, just limbs everywhere. It'd have been like a crash test dummy. Just everything would have gone everywhere. No, Aloy's in a good spot at the DH at the DH role. That catch by Robert on Sunday, and then even on Saturday, Robert with, if you're going to give a Gold Glove after the first series, which maybe is a fun thing that MLB wants to do, Robert walks away with it hands down. I mean, he could make up space in an unbelievable amount of time, and he struggled in that 2-hole for a little while. And Pedro Grifol said, "Look, I like Robert in the 2-hole." This was before Sunday's game. I like him there. He's one of our best hitters. He'll come around. What did he do on Sunday? He just absolutely smashed a double off of the wall and then went into the Crawford boxes for a home run. And then Moncada, I think 8 for 18 in the series with a couple home runs, a few doubles, handled himself at third base for the most part. I think he had a throwing error. But look, if you were questioning what kind of Moncada are you going to get to start the season, that should be all put to rest. First series, I know, but in Houston against the defending champs, wow, you got to like what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you can really say that he that was a downer was, getting thrown out at third. That's a little bit of a blunder, and I think maybe sometimes his baseball IQ isn't where it needs to be. Needed to be aware of where you're at in the ball game. But man, when you can make it up at the plate like he did the rest of the weekend, I mean, again, guys are going to make mental errors. It's just like it had to be him. Anybody else, you'd be like, oh, you got to be better. But with Yohan Moncada and the way this fan base, us included, have really given him a hard time. It was like, oh man, here we go again. What same guy. Different year, but and he looks different. They showed him in the dugout today smiling. A lot, smiling, happy. Looking like he's having a good time, and physically he looks good. And let's just again pray that continues.
Grifol had his back on that base running situation. He was being aggressive, but you're I think down a run at that point. You lead off with that. You could have been sitting on second base. Don't push it. Don't make that first out at third or home. But, Grifol said, look, that was on Moncada. That wasn't on Rodriguez. Moncada looked like it rattled around in the corner. He got aggressive. We like the aggressiveness, but maybe it wasn't the best time for that. So, Moncada, what a job with the bat. Great to see, especially on Sunday. The bad, and there was some bad, and there was even some ugly in my mind. The bullpen. I put the bullpen in the bad. I want to say 12 innings in the series, 11 earned runs. Yeah. Okay, that you can't have that. You absolutely can't have it. And that was a question mark I think you and I had, a lot of Sox fans had, of what was this bullpen going to look like. We're waiting on Crochet, Hendricks, maybe June. I don't know. He's dealing with, he's on his own path, and we're getting some positive signs. But man, I just, Kendall Graveman, that was a rough situation on Friday. Diekman comes in, and of course, Diekman does what he does, gave up
Mhm.
a base clearing double to Alvarez, who was a beast, and so glad he didn't play on Sunday. Diekman wasn't set up for a good spot, but get the job done.
Yeah.
I don't, no excuses. Yeah, nobody was gift wrapped a good situation, and maybe you go with a different guy in there. Maybe Grifol goes with somebody else against Alvarez. Maybe he doesn't go lefty, but still, we have limited guys out there. And
Mhm.
I don't know if there's really any top notch that you're super confident with.
Yeah.
Lopez, after Thursday, you're like, Lopez is the guy. Even I was, but
Mhm.
we saw what happened on Sunday, which we'll get to. So what's Grifol supposed to do in that? Those guys have to perform. This bullpen has got to tighten it up, and shaky this first series, to say the
Yeah, no
least.
doubt about it. And guys that you think you should be able to count on, like a Joe Kelly, just continue to confuse me. I did like what I saw out of Aaron Bummer from the most part, though. I mean, there was some couple good outings by Aaron Bummer, regardless of the wild pitch. I can't remember what day it was on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But some good things out of him. I'll go with my bad in terms, and I have a feeling you're putting this one in your ugly category, and it's situational hitting, runners in scoring position. I would guess, if I know my friend Nick Murawski, you've probably got the stat in front of you, what we were with runners in scoring position. If you don't, I won't put you on the spot. We are live on YouTube. If we weren't, you could go back and edit and do your editing magic.
Well,
But
Sunday we were 5 for 19. On
there
opening
was,
night, we were 1 for 10. I mean, it wasn't good.
yeah, so there was a lot of guys left on base. There was a lot of runs left out there to be had, and against a team like this, as you saw today, no lead is really all that safe against a team, especially when they're at home, when they've got the crowd behind them and they can get momentum very easily against a bullpen that is shaky, against a guy that's closing for the first time. So you need, every run is important, and not every run has to be scored via a hit, right? If you've got a runner on third, you've got to find a way to manufacture that run in somehow, some way. You can't, you can't be up in those situations and leave that runner on third with nobody out and not score the run, regardless if it's bases loaded or not. You have to find a way to get that runner in.
Yeah. So my bad. I had, obviously the bullpen, but I also put in some plate discipline. We were just not drawing walks. There were some at bats that were ugly, and I get it. Garcia on Sunday had a cutter that was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
And Valdez, with his sinker, and Elvis Andrus has looked a little lost, kind of like what Robert looked like a few games ago. Just not being disciplined on some of that's got to get better. Colas had an opportunity, I believe it was with bases loaded on Sunday, and he just was absolutely peppered with cutters down and in. He could not lay off of it. You have to have a productive out there. That now is opposition research. Every team has got that, and they're going to exploit it, and they're going to keep throwing you that until you can prove that you can hit it.
Yeah.
So my ugly, yes, you're right, 100%. I had runners in scoring position. The lack of us being able to be productive. We had two spots on Sunday, bases loaded, nobody out, and could not score a run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that you cannot, against the defending champs. I can't believe we walked away with that game on Sunday. That's something that you can't continue to survive on. You can't say, well, for now, it's like we got out of Houston with a split, but that's got to get cleaned up. Somehow, some way, you've got to figure out. I don't, at this point, I don't even care if you have a squeeze or a safety squeeze, like something to just jar everybody. You got to have some kind of production in those moments.
Well, and that's where you miss, I think, a little bit of a guy like a Jose Abreu, Nick, because you saw Jose do what he does this series against us, which was you get 2 strikes on him. He's going to take a half a swing, punch the ball the right side, do the things that you need to do to be productive and get runners in. Those are things that I hope that this new, hitting staff that they have assembled will start to instill in these guys and find ways to coach into them how to be better in these situations. Because again, you're not going to get, not every time you're going to be successful, but we've got to be successful more than what we were this weekend and what we've been really over the past several years with this group. So that I can totally understand why you'd put that in the ugly category. I put the bullpen as in the ugly category just because of the fact you had, regardless of the fact, and I don't have the stats in front of me for all of this, Nick, but regardless of the fact of what you just mentioned with the runners in scoring position, I still had confidence in guys to be able to come through. Whether I've seen them be able to do it or not, I don't know what I felt like it could still happen, and guys could still come through in situations. But the bullpen, I just feel uneasy. Maybe it was the team. Maybe it was being on the road. Maybe it'll be different against, a bad Detroit team at home in June sometime if that happens. I don't know if they're playing Detroit at home in June, but, I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe it'll be different, right? I won't have that much anxiety about it.
They are in June. They are.
That's good. Thank goodness. But that's where my ugly is right now. And we, we'll talk about it more and more, but I'm curious if it's guys feeling out of position because of Crochet not being in there, and you're missing Liam Hendricks and guys doing roles that are opposite of what maybe they're used to, or what that could be. But regardless, Nick, you got to tell guys, you need to get me outs. You need to go in there and find a way to get outs. And if you've got a cushion, listen, the cushion will evaporate really quickly if you don't have good control. You're walking guys, and you have to come in and throw them a hitter's pitch. So that's where my ugly was the bullpen. Because of the lack of confidence.
The last thing you want to see as a fan is a bullpen arm coming in and they walk somebody and they put somebody on right away. That just absolutely gnaws at your patience. And it's not like they want to do that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was the stage was too big, or if there is this bizarre, like, we don't know where people's defined roles are right now. We don't have that, like, this guy's going to bridge to the eighth, who's going to turn it over to our assigned closer. They have announced that they want to go closer by committee. Things are going to fluctuate. Things are going to change. Graveman went back to back, which was different because last year in 2022, he had his own personal kind of workload management that he was telling La Russa and others of, I don't go back-to-back days. I'm trying to conserve myself for the rest of the season. And
which was music to La Russa's ears. It's like, oh, you're singing me a lullaby. I'm going to go to sleep.
So, but he looked like a different guy for the most part on Sunday, kind of throwing strikes, attacking the zone. Bummer could have pitched I think it was the eighth today, or maybe he came in for the sixth. And I thought he could have done 2 innings on Sunday. I really could. He did look good. And I think his angle gives something, but his angle, the way he pitches, and that tunneling, slider that he has, Yaz had some problems. There were some wild pitches and things were deflecting, off the shin guards. But I can't fault Yaz too much because I actually really liked his series. I mean, he was another guy that benefited like we all talked about. Once this shift became banned, it was like Gavin Sheets is probably going to benefit, Yohan Moncada from the left side, and Yasmani Grandal. And he looked strong. He really looked strong. He looked purposeful. And he was out there. He caught 3 of the 4 games. He threw out a base stealer, a would-be base stealer. He did some blocking. Yeah, he missed a couple things, but he was kind of getting thrown some grenades there by some of our pitchers.
Yeah, the one today that got by him from Ronaldo Lopez. I mean, to me, that's impossible to even get some leather on. I mean, but I can't complain about what I saw from Yaz. I want more. Show me more. And Sebi, doing his job.
How about it,
his
man?
part too.
How about it?
So, I mean, it's amazing what the talent on this team really can show you when it's healthy and it's right and it's ready to rock and roll. Now, controlled environment, warm. We've got a different story coming up tomorrow when you're in Chicago with some cooler temperatures and some clouds in the sky. So hopefully that we can keep it continue, but it'll be a little bit different coming into Chicago, coming from Houston.
Yeah, they've moved up the first pitch of the home opener. It's now a 2:10 start. You got Michael Kopech on the hill. First time we're going to get to see him. 25 starts, something like that last year. 3.5 ERA, 120 innings, but 105 strikeouts in those 120 innings. He has high expectations for himself. He started talking about 180, 200 innings. If I can get 30 plus starts from him and around 170 innings, oh my goodness, that makes this pitching staff so different. And it really sets the White Sox up for success. I think Kopech can be a difference maker, an X factor. I'm excited to see him in person. You and I will be at the home opener. I don't know. He's going to be amped, and sometimes his emotions can get going, especially early in the game. You see a lot of pitches flying out of the zone, spiking a few curveballs. I didn't see that too much in spring training. Again, spring training, you're playing sometimes against a split squad, but I saw a very controlled Michael Kopech, who I think seems to like the pitch clock. So I'm really that's going to be something I'm going to be keeping my eyes on. His demeanor, his overall presence on the mound on Monday.
Yeah, it'll be good to see him back. I'm excited to see what he's done to turn himself from that flame throwing, just the thrower, to the pitcher. And again, it would be great to see him go out and throw 180, 200 innings that he talked about.
Yeah.
Again, that means you've got to be a pitcher, and you can't wear yourself into the ground before June. So again, just stay healthy, continue to explore your craft a little bit. Listen to Ethan Katz. And I hate this term. God, I hate this term. Play within yourself. I really despise that, but you had mentioned it. The guy really seems to get amped up in certain situations. Just have a little control, whatever you have to do to stay calm. Just again, stay there, stay in the moment, and go inning to inning, pitch by pitch. And again, I'm with you. I think he could be the linchpin to this starting five, because if you have we've seen what the starting four so far through 4 games has been able to provide. They're not going to do that every game, but this could be a really dangerous starting pitching staff if you've got a young guy like a Michael Kopech that was projected to be more like a number 1 or number 2 pitching in the 5th slot. If he could pitch up to his potential, that's amazing. That would be quacktastic.
I haven't heard that in a while. We should really get some shirts made up with quacktastic. Kopech has been quacktastic. Go Sox. Those would sell well. I think the emotions are going to be running high. It's the home opener. He's going to be in the car parade, as all players.
Are they doing
that?
They
are. They're going to do the car parade, which we all love. The cars.
Do we love the car parade?
I don't know. Now, if it was, dropped from the sky from like an airplane with a parachute and try to land in center field, and that's how you're introduced, I'm getting there early for that.
Yeah, just strap them on the back of the Flying Elvises.
Flying Elvi with your starting lineup. They just come down.
Except for Aloy. Aloy, you have to stay here.
He gets rolled out like a wagon, like a padded wagon or something.
He's in the Pole-mobile.
He's in some sort of bubble. Yeah. So I get it. They're sponsors. They've got to do that. Whatever. I think some people might enjoy it. That's fine. AJ Brzezinski throwing out the first pitch. So that's exciting.
Does he bounce it? Do you think?
I don't think so. But what I'd like to see is if we had a bit of a surprise that Mark Burley was the catcher. Burley was always the guy that would catch the first pitch from any celebrity or whoever was doing it. Wouldn't that be a fun little surprise? If Burley
I think it'd be fun if Burley's dressed up like Southpaw, and then there's the catch, and he rips off the Southpaw. Not that Southpaw.
What if he says, "I've been Southpaw for the last 3 years"?
No, that'd be great. I think if that happens, that would be fun, and I'll buy you a Coke.
Okay, that sounds good.
I think they have Coke at guaranteed rate.
Coke Zero, sure. Get a Coke Zero, sure.
There you go.
A lot of tailgating going on. There's some great places in the neighborhood if you get there early. and you park and you're like, I don't really want to tailgate, but I'd like to wander off campus and find some stuff. There are some good eats. There absolutely are. And even post game, if you want to avoid some of the traffic, go over to Phil's Pizza on 35th. I think they're open until 11 p.m., but they don't open up until 4 to 11. I'm telling you, folks, best pizza I've had in Chicago. I'll put.
But
it
don't
up
you have to
against
call
anything.
now? Don't they have to like call like at this moment now to get their pizza by this time tomorrow?
I don't know. No.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't think so. No, but there's places places that you could sit and eat there. You know, you can
Gotcha.
order pizza and hang out and wait for traffic to die down. Phil's Pizza on 35th is absolutely outstanding. So,
Or they come
uh,
to your house. I mean,
sure.
you're inviting everybody over to your place. Just
Yeah.
all are welcome, right? Come
Yeah,
one, come
I'll
all.
order a bunch of pizzas. We'll all talk about the game. I'll record it. It'll be part of Locked On the next day. It'll be
That's
great.
great. You let the fans take over the show. You just sit back and
It
hit
is
record.
fan-centric. I'm all about that, fan-centric. So I
That's
think
great.
there's tickets still available. But, look, I like a lot of what I saw. There's things to clean up, but we can split hairs. But that's the beauty of the stuff that you and I like to do. We
Mhm.
get into the game within the game. And Oscar Colas, I mean, gosh, did he look all right to you? There were a couple at bats where I'm like, he's going to go back and hopefully he gets that reviewed. But I thought he was more than serviceable in right field.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he fit the bill, right? He didn't look like the moment was too big for him. There wasn't a lot to get overly excited about from at the plate, really. But I think I think it's better than what we've had in right field, Nick, in terms of playing the position. And again, he's still growing into this. He was facing some tough pitchers, right, in a tough environment. It'll be fun to see how he goes with the home crowd behind him. That'll really, I'm sure, amp him up. And he had family in the crowd over the weekend. His mom was with him, and we'll see. I'm sure she'll be at a lot of games, but I'm excited to see how it goes as he continues to mature in this role and as he gets those milestones. Right, he's got his first hit out of the way. Let's see, you get the first home run, the first RBI, all that stuff, right? All those first, get those going. So it feels more like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be here. All that stuff about being new. And this is the first time for this and the first time for that. There's going to be first for a lot of things in terms of failures and wins and victories and ups and downs. He's got to go through all that stuff to learn how he can progress and move forward and go draw on from those experiences and go, okay, this happened last time. Now I understand how to cope and or maybe build upon that. So again, it didn't look too big. He didn't look lost out there. It'll take some time.
Yeah. I really enjoyed Benintendi in left field. He played a couple of those balls off the wall perfectly. Like he knew exactly where he should be. This wasn't his first rodeo. And, you hit it off the wall in left field, you're probably going to get a single anyway. Like that's a bit of a short porch over there. But still, you can misplay it. You can overrun it. You don't know how close sometimes to get to the wall. He did a really nice job of getting that ball in. You never know. If you can limit opposition to an extra base, that can add up. We saw what happened towards the end of Sunday where the Astros just didn't quit.
Yeah.
And they're projected to go back to the World Series for a reason. They have a solid lineup. Man, Tucker is a scary, scary hitter. Abreu, we kept Abreu in check. Abreu did Abreu things, man. You throw him a mistake, a hanger, he's going to rip it. You throw him something on the outside, he's going to take the pitch and go to right field. I think Giolito struck him out 3 times on Saturday. But how was the experience seeing him in an Astros jersey? What were your emotions like?
I really didn't have any. I really didn't. I don't. Again, maybe it's because I'm old and I'm jaded and I've seen my favorite players, from different places or the teams that I root for play for other organizations. It's just at 41, almost 42 years old. You're much older than me. I'm only 41. You are already 42. I feel like I've seen it before, Nick. It's just the nature of professional sports. It's going to happen. there's really no reason to go, woe is me, because, a player is playing somewhere else. Jose Abreu was a great player. He was a great Chicago White Sox. He'll never be a Hall of Famer. He'll never, he didn't bring this team to the promised land in terms of the championships he's won. He was an MVP in the, the COVID year. It was fantastic. I loved Jose Abreu when I was on this team, but now he plays for somebody else. I don't care. It didn't do anything to me. And I think I was watching the game with my 6-year-old on for opening day. And I was really excited when Jose would strike out or something would happen. He's like, Dad, you're being kind of hard on Jose. And I'm like, yeah, he doesn't play for us anymore, but that's me at 41 talking to a 6-year-old about players moving to a different team. So I don't know. How did you feel? Were you able to manage your emotions, or did you have to have a box of Kleenex beside you, or?
I had to pause the game and go excuse myself. Yeah. And no, I mean, you knew it was coming. It's not like it was just like one day.
It happened before the game.
Right. We've been preparing ourselves like this for a while. And Han, I think, compared it to seeing Michael Jordan in a Wizards uniform in a jersey. I don't think that's quite accurate. But I remember I was at the game when Frank Thomas came back to the South Side in an Oakland A's uniform. Mm-hmm. And that was really weird. That was really bizarre. And he did damage to the Sox that game. I remember everybody gave him a standing ovation. He hit a home run. Everybody kind of booed him the second time he hit a home run. I mean, he was on a mission that game. Sox ended up winning that game, maybe by a Rob Makoviak home run late in the game. Yeah. That, man, the fact that I can pull that name out of the old memory bank tells you something. That was a long time ago.
Well, you are special.
Rain Man, like I'm pretty good with moments. Not as good as our good buddy Eric, who can tell you just
Eric,
about any.
And I know he's listening right now.
Yeah.
Hi, Eric Carlson. How are you?
He can tell you any moment. And everybody's got these fans in their life, like that can tell you like the date it was on, or if it was a weekend series or a weekday series, or they can tell you down to the to a few days and what year and everything of certain milestones. So no, it was strange, but every time he came up, it's not like I was saying, oh, well, it's okay if he gets on, or I don't mind, or I want to see him do well. No way. I wanted to see him embarrassed. I wanted to see him punished.
Embarrassed and punished.
Is that too cruel?
Well, that's a little cruel. Like you,
and I don't want to see him get beamed in the head. I just wanted to see him, made a fool up there. I did not want to see him
out. You want to punish that way?
I didn't want to see him have any success. But hey, I think he's going to have a fine year. I really do. I don't know what's going to happen in year 2 and year 3 of that contract. The Sox weren't going to give him that money. Cleveland wasn't going to give him that money. No surprise there. Houston was on a mission. Like that is who they wanted. That's a missing piece to a repeat. And so, good for him. We don't have to see him for a while now. I think mid-May, when the Eloy talking bobblehead is going to be released. That is when the Astros come to town that weekend.
Yeah, the weekend of May 12th, 13th, and 14th. So get your tickets now on whitesox.com.
Yeah, done. I'll be there. Was there a doubt?
If there's a bobblehead, Nick will be there.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, again, like there were some things that really bugged me, and Friday night's game, I think, was the thing that really drove me crazy. I mean, Sox led every single one of these games. Mm-hmm. They had a lead in every single one of these games. They were up 3-0 in that Friday game. In the 6th, I believe. Mm-hmm. And you turned it over to a bullpen, and that's what happened. But again, there were too many positives, I think, for me to. If this is a continuing, and maybe it is, I don't know. I think the bullpen was a question mark coming in. Now, how Grifol maybe decides to use different guys, set them up for success. Maybe he gets a little better of a feel what guys can handle in certain situations, perhaps.
Yeah, it's a learning for him too. He's learning these guys, and you can do a lot in spring training in terms of trying to figure out what guys feature and how they might look and this and that, but you don't really know how they're going to react in the moment in the situation. So he's taking a lot of that in now. And again, it's all about figuring out what guy, this is Hawkism. I love going back to Hawkisms, figuring out what a guy can't do and don't ask him to do it again. Figure out what he can do and ask him to do it. So that's what a bullpen is all about, and getting a feel for it really is I think a lot of what your instincts tell you on a day in and day out basis. Can this guy do this? We've seen it before. He's going to fail in this situation. We're not going to put him out there in this situation. So sometimes you're just, your hands are tied. You need to get out. So you don't really have many options depending on how many games in a row guys have pitched, and you got to put people out there and just hope.
Yeah. You brought him up, Hawk Harrelson. He was a bit in the news this past week before the season start. He was a guest on AJ Pierzynski's show, and Hawk had some interesting things to say about the White Sox organization. I think the famous line now is, "I did not retire, I got retired." What do you make of all that? I mean, is it anything new? We've known Hawk for so long.
Yeah, well, not personally, but I
personally, but of him and the things he's said and the books he's written.
He was always a guy that said he wanted to basically die in the booth. If you watch the documentary, I think it was on NBC Sports Chicago, Hawk, it came out, I think, a couple of years ago, right shortly after he retired, maybe, or after he retired. So, he talked about calling his last game and just hoping he would just drop dead. And just like, that's how he wanted it to end, which would have been a really odd way to have a broadcast. Does the game go on, or who does the game after that? I don't know. Maybe Connor McKnight have to slide in there and get the body away.
Waiting.
Just Connor, just wait here just in case Hawk just passes on. But I get, it's not a surprise. I think it was time for the Sox and Hawk to kind of part ways, and I don't think Hawk was going to be the one to initiate that or come up with the idea of, maybe it's a time for me to walk away. So the Sox did the best they could to not let their legend be fired and put the spin on it the way they did. Doesn't surprise me. Does it you?
No, because of other stories we've heard from other White Sox legends that have been a part of the fan base that kind of got phased out in a way that they really didn't want to be phased out. And they kind of let on like, this was my decision and this is what I want to do, spend more time with my family, this, that, and the other. But really it was, no, I want to continue to do this. I still had the love for it, but I knew that I might not be loved that way anymore.
Yeah.
And there was a change going on. And so it sounded at the beginning of Hawk wanted to spend more time with family, his grandson, this, that, and the other. But maybe he really just wanted to.
How do you feel now if you're that grandson? It's like, geez, you don't really want to spend any time with me, apparently. That was a bunch of BS.
A big lie. No, I think I like the tandem, Stone and Benetti. I think they complement each other.
By the way, what happened to Stoney? Did we ever figure out what happened to his head?
I'm sure
massive head wound, Harry there.
No, I wonder what if there was just just some sort of checkup, or I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. It was a large bandage. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any explanation. So,
well, you'd think they would have said something like, I know you are probably wondering what the heck's going on with my head, but I'm fine. Interesting.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting if he just had like a White Sox bandana, just like kind of a pirate look, just completely covering everything up. And nobody said anything. Like, what's the new look? Like, what are you going with this year, Steve?
What, you don't like this?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, whatever. Not a big deal. Home opener. I talked about food options I think the last time we talked. They showed some on the screen on Sunday. The elote corn dogs, the pierogies, and the charred Polish sausage, which you might have access to because you're going to be up in the sweets, perhaps. I don't know what you've got going on Monday and all your dealings. But what?
You make it sound like I have some illegal situations
No,
there. My
nothing.
dealings.
No, nothing.
Okay.
I'm sure you're just, you're rubbing shoulders with different type of people than us
Well,
common folk.
that's not true
So
at
that's
all.
fine.
That's not true at all.
What are you looking forward to? What do you cannot wait to
Well,
eat?
you know that I've got to find my way to get my favorite thing. And you know what I'm going to do this tomorrow, Nick? I'm going to do something that I'm going to go off the board. I'm gonna get myself my traditional what is it, the Italian sausage with the marinara and
Oh yeah,
that
and the sweet
that thing
peppers.
and the
Yeah,
sweet peppers.
yeah.
If I could do that, a hot dog and find time. I've never had one. Is the Comiskey burger, right? Is it the
Oh
Comiskey
my
burger that you tell me
goodness, you
is a
haven't had a
fantastic? I've
Comiskey
never had
burger
a
yet?
Comiskey burger. You have to remember, Nick, I'm
Oh.
usually there with several children, and I've spent $1 billion on things for them, and Dad gets the scraps. I might get a
Yeah.
half-eaten bun. I might get the crust of a pizza.
Oh
That's all I
boy.
can really
Here,
afford.
if you're going to do the Comiskey burger, which I highly recommend, folks, the double patty, and you can put the Merck's cheese on it, which is great. You wait a little bit because, and that's even with dogs, Polish and the grilled onions. The buns are sometimes a little cold. The onions aren't fully, caramelized, and with the burger, wait maybe not right when you get in. Give it a moment. Because sometimes there's some of the buns are a little chilled. Give it, just if you can wait, I highly recommend, but it's worth it. I think the Comiskey burger it's up there with one of my favorite things at the ballpark now.
All right. Well, then you keep selling it to me, and I haven't converted yet. And also, I think I got verbally accosted by somebody that told me I couldn't believe I've never had a pierogi before.
Well, that's
So I
shocking
better
to me.
find a way to make sure that happens. Maybe I have had one. I don't know, but
You'd know if you had a pro. You'd know.
I mean, we are good friends. You've never invited me over for a pierogi meal before.
I know. You know what? We got to do that sometime.
Well, I blame your mother.
Yeah. Well, she's not going to be making them. It would be my grandmother.
Then I blame her.
Well, she's 92. That would
Not
be
now. Not
okay.
now. What about when she was 72? We've been friends for a long time, brother.
I understand.
I take none of the blame for never having a
Well,
pierogi.
we'll find those. That's going to be a big deal. And all the drink options. I don't know how many new craft breweries if they've got going on. But look, it's an exciting time. It should be a holiday. It should be locally a holiday.
It really should be. And for those that we're going to see tomorrow, feel free to come and say hi. Nick will be over in his section. I'll be, perusing the stadium all over the place. I'll be at Wings and Rings starting at 10 o'clock for Carmen Yerk live broadcast at Wings and Rings. So if you're around and you want to stop by early, come by and see me. I'll be there for a little bit. Not that you really care. I'm sure nobody's going to be lined up for getting autographs from Pat Hester, but Wings and Rings before the game. I know there's going to be a ton of great tailgates. One of my favorite things to do is just walk through the tailgate areas and Lot B, especially just the smells that come from there. And then you get hit in the face again once you walk into the ballpark. It's amazing. It's beautiful.
I had a chance to walk by the ballpark a few days ago, and they have done a lot of work just from the exterior, and specifically Lot B, South End. Tons of AstroTurf that's been put down. A lot of new greenery. Looks like a new sidewalk that goes east to west along Gate 5 and the Shy Sox Bar and Grill and Sports Depot. And they have protected Old Comiskey Park. They put looks like two concrete kind of half circle benches and some AstroTurf around all of that. So that's got a bit of a moment. 1,000 million bollards to make sure nobody is upset about the outcome of a game that tries to run their car, trying to get into the stadium or something. So a lot of protection around there. So I like to get in just to see what else is new inside.
Oh yeah, you're a big lap around the ballpark guy.
I am in the 500 level. You got those two Skyview.
Are you heading up to the 500 level?
No, I'm not going to be up there on the home opener, but eventually I'll be up there and check that out purposefully just to see what the views are like. And they've got their own food items up there too.
Yeah, the 10-foot long hot dog or whatever, the big banger or whatever it's called. What is it? The big Miller High Life hot dog. Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, there's a Belgium. I got it right here. This is there's a Belgium banger up in the Blue Moon balcony on the 500 level. It's a half-pound spicy Polish sausage and a Bavarian pretzel bun with caramelized onions and crispy chopped bacon bits. And then in the Miller High Life Sky Lounge, you got the champagne of dogs, a half
That's the
pound,
one. Yeah.
a half pound Vienna beef footlong Frank on a brioche bun with champagne relish and habanero mustard. So,
And it comes with an angioplasty, I hear. That's
absolutely.
great. You get that
Yeah.
right afterwards.
You won't be able to take the ramp down. You're going to have to take the escalator and elevator. There's no way you're walking down
If
the
I
ramp
ate
from the
that
500
thing,
level.
just push me off the side. That would be it. That
Well,
would just,
well, that's how you should. There should just be a big like a couple pro pits, like when you were like in grade school and you're doing the high jump on this big nasty red pro pit. just everybody just fall down onto this big pro pit because or a big slide. You just have like a big slide.
That's all these fat asses
You just
rolling down the slide that just hate the big banger.
Oh, you must have had the big banger. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to take the slide down. Yeah.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I don't know. It's an idea. It's something that they can maybe.
What do you so you're going to take your lap around. You want to see what's
Yeah.
new in the stadium. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
What is your first item up for bids in terms of the menu?
Well, the chorizo mac that I hyped up, I'm going to try to get
You're
over
gonna
at the
get
mac
back
and
to that?
cheese barn. I'm going to go there, and then I'll probably find myself a Comiskey burger. No question
at
about
you.
that. Probably the third inning.
Feel free to
We'll
just
see.
get one from me and deliver it. I'll put my order in now.
But you have to be quick, man. These games are moving.
Oh, I know.
You know,
Well,
with the
there was
pitch
some
clock.
wringing of hands and gnashing of teeth from the North Side team guys or folks complaining that they were in line, they missed an inning and a half and concessions and things like that. So, be prepared and eat your food early and be prepared to, you might have to be strategic when you go to the concessions.
Yeah, I hope they figured that out because that has been a problem over the last couple seasons for a variety of different reasons. Long lines and so we'll see what happens with that. But hey, it's a brand new start on the South Side. I'm happy with the split. Could have gone much differently. There's a different vibe with this team going into Sunday's game. Coming into Sunday's game, they had the most hits in all of baseball. They were 13th in slugging in all of baseball and a top 10 in average. They definitely helped themselves with the performance on Sunday. So, hey, figure out the bullpen, and we might have an exciting month here. You got 3 with the Giants and then 3 with Pittsburgh before we talk again.
Oh, and then don't overlook. Hopefully, they don't overlook these next couple of games when you got Minnesota, who's 3-0 right now. They're still trying for that 162-0 season. So, right, I'm excited. I'm actually really glad that they started off with Houston, Nick. So they didn't, there was some sense of urgency to start this season and play well in front of the, against the World Series defending champions. So hopefully that serves them well. Hopefully we're talking about more wins than losses, and let's get above the 500 mark early on in this season and continue to add and build on top of that.
Yeah, Pedro Grifol has talked multiple times about kind of staying in the present, looking at 5 to 7 days, and great point. Don't look ahead to the Twins. Stay in the moment against a Giants team that's projected, third, fourth in the NL West, and I don't know about a Pirates team that's going terribly far. So stay in the moment, take care of business, series by series. And then when the Twins are on the schedule, they're on the schedule. But, live here and now.
I hear you, brother. I can't wait. I can't wait for tomorrow. Can't wait to see you at some point tomorrow. I'm going to be wearing my Sox poncho just in case.
Your ESPN 1000 Sox poncho from like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
When ponchos were like a quarter-inch thick, just rubber that wouldn't breathe whatsoever.
Well, it is not. It doesn't breathe. It's warm under there. It's fantastic. It's got a rip in it. I don't know if you can sew that plastic back together or not.
You
or
need
how
Gorilla Tape is what you need. You
well,
need, yeah.
then
I have it at my
I know
house.
you
You come
do.
over
I
and
might
yeah,
need a repair, but
yeah.
yes, I do still have that poncho. It served me well at many a tailgates over the years.
All right. Always a pleasure, my friend. Absolutely a pleasure talking White Sox with you. And yeah, looking forward to a good homestand.
Yeah, let's go Sox. I'm going to say 2 out of 3 against the Giants. Let's just get our predictions in, and I can't wait to talk to you about hopefully a successful week next Sunday night.
Yeah, folks, thank you so very much tuning in on our YouTube feed. Appreciate that. Subscribe and catch us usually on Sunday nights, sometimes Monday nights, and obviously find the podcast absolutely everywhere. Pass it along to other Sox fans in your life. We're on Twitter at Good Guys TB, and we've got a Facebook fan page. For Pat Hester, I'm Nick Murawski. Until next time, go Sox.